Hello, everyone. Welcome to HappyTec, where we are happy about tech.
Oh God. I mean, okay, yeah, we are happy about some parts of tech. Let's not mince words that there is a lot going on in tech these days that let's not our collective mince words
Conscious
that there
is
is a lot going
dealing
on in
with.
tech these days.
Oops, sorry, I had an echo.
Oh, is it me?
No, well, no, I had the stream up to see if there's chat, and then for some reason I told it mute, and it said, great, I'm going to do that, and it just unmuted itself. Speaking of tech problems, also earlier
Uh,
today, when I was in OBS, I switched the screen and it decided, well, that means you're going to go live. So if you got two emails about the stream going live, that's what happened there. It was live for about 2 minutes. So if you joined the stream at that point, you didn't see anything. You just heard me mumbling to myself about random things, which I'm sure was fascinating. I like mumbling.
Okay, so what we have today is a few different things. As usual, we're going to look at AI and just discuss it. But I also have a very interesting tech related thing, but that's not like entirely, you know, digital. And I want to see if I can pull it up
It's a
here.
non-digital tech thing.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Okay, so if I can share this. Can you see my screen?
Almost. Ah.
Oh, wow, that's very loud.
All right, let me get it set
Hear
up
this?
correctly.
Can you still hear me though?
I can hear you, yes, and I do see, yeah, we see your screen now.
Okay, I can't hear you for some reason,
You
Rob.
can't hear me.
Maybe I'll mute this. So
Okay.
anyway, this is an interesting person that I found. He has made AI, and that's his joke that it's AI. I cannot tell if this is real.
It's one of those
And
things, right, where it's just on the border where you feel like it could be real, but also maybe not. How many fingers does he have?
his fingers have all looked very normal. The footage has looked normal to me. I don't know if he's just doing something over his eye. So I went over here. OG titanium eye maker.
I mean, if he is an actual CNC machinist, I could see him making a titanium eye.
Yeah, and then look at this one. It doesn't look, you see
Also,
what
these
I'm
were updated a
saying?
long time ago too.
Well, these are older, but this one is more recent.
Uh, that's cool.
So I feel like this is real. What do you think?
I see. It's hard to tell because I've been fooled by so many things at this point. I anything on the internet can be faked. The thing that does thing is we could do videos like this even before AI. It just took longer. So the fact that he's got
Yeah,
something that's 200 weeks old, like he could have photoshopped something, you know? Like there are we have obviously there were movies around that did this sort of stuff before AI, so it's obviously it was possible. I like to think that this sort of thing is possible, like having a little titanium eyeball that could has like a motion sensor in it that could turn on and off. Like I feel like technically that should be possible. And if you are someone like if it was just some random person, but someone who's like, oh, I am a machinist, I lost my eye, therefore I made another one. That does sound like something a machinist would do. Then he watched Iron Man and he was like, oh, wonder if I can do a cybernetic eyeball. So I feel like it could be true. On the other hand, it could be fake. I have no idea.
Yeah. I'm just wondering what AI. Oh, he's an engineer, which
Yeah, that's
includes.
why I'm like, he could do it. And I feel like it should be technically possible to do this.
Oh, he's been wearing it since he was a child.
And see, that's the other, like, there should be social proof for that. The fact that all these miracles are happening now makes them hard to believe. But like, if he's got video of him wearing that like 15 years ago that we can date as being 15 years old, I then I would believe it. On the other hand, maybe this entire persona is just made up. Who knows? That's the problem. Is like all of this stuff has made me so paranoid. I would like to believe it though.
Yeah.
I think it's a very cool idea.
I mean, and even if we tried to find out if it was real, the way that they would do it is through like video, essentially.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to know. Like you'd have to actually see it working. Um, and he does have like all the other things here. Oh, and oh, he was in Newsweek. So that this gives me a little bit more.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, remember that court had the AI evidence and they like accepted it. So this gives me, yeah, okay, so this gives me a little bit more hope
No.
that this is real. Okay. These are regular prosthetic eyes.
Like that's the sort of thing I would do if I'd lost an eye and knew how to work titanium.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, check out his stuff if this is cool to you. I found out about him and I've watched a few of his videos because I think it's just really interesting. Like, this is the kind of stuff that we had hoped that technology, would bring us, right? Is like cool inventions that are fun and add mystery and also add play to somebody who, technically has a disability and make their life just more meaningful and impactful and inspirational to other people, right? I mean, that was what tech was supposed to do. So I just wanted to bring this up in here because this is a type
Mm-hmm.
of technology. It's not, I mean, yeah, actually parts of it are probably digital too. So just wanted to bring that up here so we're not just, seeing the doomed nature of what's going on in the tech world. But there are cool creators and inventors out there, like last time when we talked about the horse browser for people with ADHD. Like there are some things like that that I feel are helpful or fun or interesting that and harmless ultimately in many ways right now, kind of. I could see this getting militaristically used. Anyway, so thank you for that.
Do you think like those little emergency flashers where you push once it's a light, you push two it's a strobe, you push three it's a red light? Do you think he has to do that with his eye to get it to switch between modes? Like he's like, oh crap, that one was the flashlight. I went too far, and like has to cycle through them again.
Yeah, he might have a remote with it. I didn't see that.
You can pack actually a lot of tech inside a sphere that small at this point because of the miniaturization of chips. And for what he's having to do, you wouldn't need that complicated of a chip to run it or a very powerful battery. The biggest output in most technology, the biggest drain of power is actually the display. So if he's got like
Mhm.
a programmable, it looked like to do that LED thing, you need more than one LED. You need like a very tiny LED array, but that does take some power, right? And then of course he's
Mhm.
got an actual flashlight, which probably takes the most power in the thing. I wonder if he has a little USB at the back. They like pulls it out and plugs it into the charge, and he's on the job site and he's like, I forgot to charge my eye, and like his light turns off.
The next thing I have is about. This is about Nano Banana versus Nano Banana Pro. And I think this original is Nano Banana. And you could kind of see that, like, oh, somebody could be suspicious of this, right? On the left. The one on the right is like way more realistic, right? It doesn't
Mm,
look so photoshopped. It doesn't look so perfectionistic. Like the lighting here, you can tell this is artistically edited
mm,
or like professional photographer lighting, right? On the left. But when you look at the right, it looks much more washed out. The way like an amateur photographer with like just an iPhone would do. And so it just like this, I would be fooled.
yeah.
100%. Fingers are on point. Like everything is golden here for me. So I wouldn't look at this and think AI. This one, I'd be a little sus. Like I'd be like, it could be, you know? Even her jawline here would make me kind of wonder if it's photoshopped something. But here I'm like, oh yeah, this looks realistic. Like there's some clutter. Like look at how the clutter is faded out here, right? You can even tell it's too perfect. So they've added the imperfections back in, and that is something to really pay attention to as we go forward with the AI piece. And just like that, the age of photographic evidence is over.
Mm.
1826 to 2025. Update your epistemology accordingly. So
Yeah.
I'll pull up more about Nano Banana and Nano Banana Pro. I would love to hear, Rob, if you have any thoughts.
I know one thing I do know is that OpenAI has really been scrambling recently. At least that's what I've heard, is because Gemini 3 and Nano Banana, which is the funniest name. I'm sure they picked it that way on purpose. Like it's actually a great name for getting people to pay attention. But like they're realizing that Google has caught up, which honestly, of course they caught up. Like it's Google. Google has like not $1 trillion, but hundreds of billions of dollars they can sink into this stuff. Like what OpenAI gets from its investors, like they have to go and they're like, oh, please give us more money. Google just has that. And, they will put it towards anything they think is important. So it doesn't surprise me that they caught up. I think what the important part was the competition, right? One of the reasons that we don't see a lot of innovation in Gmail, I'm going off on a tangent here, but it's something I care about. In Gmail and Office 365, not that they're bad products, but there's no competition in that market space. And that's because it's actually insanely expensive to run a suite of tools that powerful and enough server and hardware space to do that. Most companies don't have that. I was really hoping that Salesforce was going to do it because just giving them, and you might be like, well, I don't use Google Workspace. Why do I care? The thing is, the improvements they make to Google Workspace eventually trickle down to the free users. That's just how it works because eventually they'll do more stuff and they're like, oh, well, we should give this to our free users. It happens all the time. And so the new features you're getting in the personal email is stuff that Workspace has had for, a couple years. And so if new cool stuff, like the newest thing they've added to Google is Gemini. And like that's not that exciting to me anyway. I feel like they could do a lot better. But that's why like competition is great here. OpenAI is scrambling, right? Oh no, OpenAI is scrambling. Yeah, they're gonna come up with something new. They're gonna come up with something better. They're going to improve ChatGPT. Claude does better at code generation than ChatGPT. I know this because this is what I use at work. Gemini does searches better than ChatGPT. So
Hey, Rob,
ChatGPT, yeah.
I think you're not on the live. I am.
I'm not on the line. What are you talking about?
Like it's showing my face, not yours.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, can you switch it over and start that whole
Hi.
thing again?
We gotta start the whole thing again because that's how content works. So I think it's a good thing that OpenAI is scrambling because it means there's competition in the marketplace. And yeah, I know I'm a filthy capitalist, whatever. Competition is really important in the marketplace because it makes things better. ChatGPT, let's be honest, ChatGPT 5 was kind of a disappointment. Now, knowing how that works under the scenes as I do, I can tell you it was better in a lot of ways, but it wasn't what people wanted, right? And that's the problem that a lot of companies that have monopolies run into is they build stuff that they think is interesting. They're not really caring whether their customer wants it or it's what their customer wants. Enter Gemini, Claude, right? Anthropic and Google are really catching up. And in fact, most people think Gemini 3 is better than ChatGPT 5, which means OpenAI's got to scramble to come up with something better. And they may go bankrupt doing it. Like, I think there's a lot of investment in making them not go bankrupt. Google has a huge war chest. They have deep pockets that they can spend, and they have a lot of really smart people working for them. So, like, they were, was it was Meta. Meta was trying to hire OpenAI engineers and offering them $1 million a year. Like Google can match that. Meta also is panicking, but that's because the metaverse is happening without them, which I think is funny. But yeah, I think this is good because I think OpenAI is just going to do better, right? They're going to come up with a better product. It's going to be more streamlined. It's going to be more what people want. It's going to be more consumer, or they're going to pivot heavier into enterprise. But then they're going to run up against Salesforce, who is doing that with their agent force. Yeah, agent force. Agent force is pretty good at what it does. So then, they got to figure that out. So that's why I think all of this is just really good for the consumer. And AI can also do some pretty cool stuff. Like, look at all these cool cars. That's pretty awesome. It's basically the way I look at it is AI can't do anything that we couldn't do. It just does it faster, and that's technology. And sometimes that causes problems, and we do need to handle that well. But it's here, and it's not going away, and we should learn to make the best of it. Anyway, that's my rant for now.
Yeah, that's okay. I think that's a great rant. And you can still see my screen, right?
Oh, there you go. You're
Oh,
back.
well, okay. Um, yeah, and I mean, it even says, right? Make impossible selfies, right? Combine photos. Um, it's just going to a whole new level, essentially. And I still don't fully understand the water, and global like climate change issues around AI because I mostly read that it's causing a lot of, climate issues essentially. And then there are a few people who will say that no, it's not, And it's comparable to it's a X, Y, and Z, right? So I still don't know where all of this is going to go and then how it's going to be used and what about the artists and writers and coders and creatives and all those people who aren't getting benefit, right, from this, but whose things it was trained on. I don't know if that's ever going to be resolved. I mean, I know there are several lawsuits right now with different places, like even Getty Images, I believe last time I read, had a lawsuit going. So those are like the ethical things that are coming up. But I also know it's been used in fashion, for a lot of different things, and yeah, it's just being used everywhere, right? Like right now for the creative part, and I've used it myself for my Dungeons and Dragons campaign. I just made um my character in, I think I made it in Gemini a few months ago. And earlier, I had commissioned other artists to make these character portraits, and it had taken, 2 weeks. And I'm an artist, by the way, so it's like I'm totally betraying my people. But it's really interesting because it was up in like minutes. Okay, minutes. Like I don't even know if it was minutes actually. It was probably just seconds. So it's really mind-boggling to see that something that, took somebody so many weeks has been brought down to seconds and then they're losing income, right? I'm really aware. Like when I did the portraits for Dungeons and Dragons for myself, one of them was like $80. I didn't spend $80 to create my image for this campaign of my character. So it was, not free, but it was free. So the ethics of that are still like weighing on my mind, and I don't really have that all kind of sorted out right now, but it's like an ongoing thing present. And even like this Zoom background, this is made with Canva's AI, right? Like, and there's a little, Zen robot. But so it is one of those things of like, really, what am I doing, and what are other artists doing, what are other writers doing, musicians, even actors are gonna get displaced in some way or already have. Um, And so, how do we kind of reckon with that? And how do we reckon with these costs? And it reminds me of like outsourcing conversations originally, like 20 years ago. And now it's a given, right? It's like literally a given that some call centers are outside of the country. And that's just how it is. And that's what we expect nowadays. And that is like the type of global unification that many of us had dreamed of, but it doesn't look the way that we thought it was going to look for all of us to realize that we're one planet. And so I feel like there's something like that that's going to happen with AI as well, and that's going to come forward, and it's going to be messy. And I've lost friendships over this because people have been upset that, I even use Gemini or Chat GPT to search or research, forget generative stuff, right? So it's going to create further sort of polarization too, as we're looking at it. So if you're interested in any of that, or you're confused about things, or you watch something and you're like, is this real? Feel free to send it to us. We try to go through these every week and just look at some deep fakes and whether they're real or not, and what impact they're having on society. Look in the comment section. And there have been other things that we've gone through that you can also look at. And if you're interested in a guide on how to tell if something is AI and what kind of steps to take, let us know and we can send that to you.
I think one of the things that people are running into is that I think most people outside of the industry were just not familiar with how fast tech moves. Like the technologies that I learned 6 years ago are no longer relevant technologies, or they've adapted and they look completely different. Like if I look back 6 years, the kind of the libraries and code and stuff I was working with, I couldn't do that today and have a job. I've had to learn new stuff, new technologies, picked up new things. That's pretty fast. Like if you go into accounting, other than tax laws changing every year, they're not going to change that much. The whole tax code isn't being rewritten every couple of years. The rules of accounting are not changing that much. You're going to have some that knowledge for 50 years and it's going to be good. And I think that is what AI did, because you talk about call centers, right? And that is, I think, exactly what's happening here. But call centers didn't happen overnight. At first, it was like one or two companies, maybe the shady ones, the really crap companies, or the behemoths like Verizon, right? They're like, oh, yeah, we've got some of our stuff for if you call in the middle of the night, it's going to go offshore because, of course, they're awake. And then slowly it moved to, okay, now it's a 24/7 call center there, but not every company was doing it. And even now, it's like 95% of companies are doing that, but there's still some that aren't. But that took like decades. We were having conversations about offshoring when I entered the industry. And that was like 18 years at this point. And that's finally, like you said, it's been accepted. Like, okay, yeah. I was just talking to someone who has offshore developers, and like I know exactly what that means. I assume they're not in France. That's just kind of how things are. And I gotta move this thing. But AI happened in the space of like 2 to 3 years, really 2 years, if you think about it, because 2 years ago, people kind of knew about this stuff. They're like, yeah, I kind of get this. It's kind of a thing. But then they didn't really, it wasn't really part of the main consciousness. It was just a bunch of people on the fringe. And then suddenly it was everywhere. And that's a shock because you get someone who, is not in tech and works in some other industry. They've learned about offshoring and call centers and stuff like that very slowly, and now it's just a fact of life. But if that stuff had just happened in the space of 5 months, all of a sudden every call center job is gone and it's in Bangladesh, I think people would be freaking out about it a lot more. And because of that slow, gradual trend, we ended up being able to and I do honestly hate this term, but it's extremely useful here, upskill. We were able to upskill the people who lost those call center jobs. We were able to get them other jobs because they didn't flood the market, right? A call center closes, that might dump like 400 people onto the market. The labor market can handle that. It can deal with that inflow of people and getting them other jobs. If all the call centers closed, we probably would have had a recession because that's so many people suddenly they're flooding onto the job market, driving wages down. It's just not a good situation. And that's what we're seeing with AI because it's happening so quickly. And the things it can do are growing because people are building tools around AI. And to be fair, I am one of those people. I work at a company that's building tooling around AI. I'm ground zero for this stuff going on. And it's exciting what's going on, like from a certain perspective, but also it happens really fast and people just aren't ready for it. Anyway, that's my spiel. What are we looking at, Fee?
Are you able to see this?
I mean, it's very small. Can you make the text bigger?
Oh, okay. Now?
That's better, yeah.
Okay, so this is of course in Gemini. Um, so first of all, the total usage is around 0.02%. However, um, it's changing, right? Because it's in, yeah, like it says in water scarce regions. I saw an interesting, oh, where did it go? It was about like how much one burger,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the water usage of one beef burger is equivalent to over 130,000 AI searches. One beef burger, right? So like we're sitting with that, but then we're also sitting with you can't just make a beef burger really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
right? Versus searches or like a 10-minute conversation. I said that earlier. I should have kept that one open actually, because this is, oh yeah, and when I first searched this, it's interesting because Gemini was like, yeah, it is real. It's a real issue. And then I changed the search to compare AI water usage to, is the view still good?
Yeah.
I changed the search to compare AI water usage to other things. So a 10-minute interaction uses zero point 0.5 to 1.5 liters of water. And so that's right here, right? Then if we look at like the average daily shower, it takes 2 to 6 gallons, which is 22 liters. So just a shower will take like 20 times, not 20 actually, it's like 15 times the amount of water that a 10-minute interaction you take. But how many times do we have a shower versus how many times do we have 10-minute interactions with Gemini, right? So it's like the scaling piece of it and how quickly we can use that water and like get into using it. And then also another piece that it pointed out is like where the AI data centers are located versus like where cows are farmed. That also makes a difference. And how much water the AI data center uses is like usually equivalent to like thousands of people living in one town, right? When you look at like the overall usage of the water. So it's like all these different things that you have to like kind of take in together. But then it doesn't change the fact that compared to like everything else that we're using water for, it's like it's just not as bad as those things on an individual level. When it comes to like the training and stuff, like I think it's like a different conversation. So are we gonna like now suddenly tell people like stop eating beef? I mean, people do say that, right? But how realistic is it? How realistic is it that like people are going to stop eating beef? And I'm like mostly trying to be, as good to the earth as I possibly can. And I believe we are earth, and that's a huge part of like my belief system, but I still eat beef. Like I literally ate beef the other day. Like I still eat chicken. I know how much water it takes to do all of that. Even washing a shirt, right? It said like it takes a few gallons to just wash one shirt versus like how little it takes to do a 10-minute conversation with Gemini. Okay. But I wash my shirts, right? So we have to like pay attention to the nuance of these things. And I think in general, understanding how to set up society so that our resources are used in the best way possible. And I've always kind of said this, like, we have what we need. It's just mismanaged. It's just really badly managed. And at the same time, it's doing the best that it can. So, and another thing that I think for myself, and like this isn't really tech related, this is just more my philosophy is like, I don't have children. I don't plan to have children. This is kind of the end of the line. So it's like the amount of environmental cost that goes into like having a child is like, okay, so how are we comparing these things, right? And where are we drawing the line? For example, for me, for my health condition, which is a skin condition that is complicated and they haven't figured it out, and it's an autoimmune condition, I use AI every day to help with my health, and it has helped me so much. I can't even tell you, like the number of options it's given me that nobody has given me at the same time. It can tell me like 50 things I can try in 30 seconds to help with my skin condition that doctors cannot tell me. They cannot think of that. And I can go through and systematically create a health protocol for myself, which I have done with the assistance of Gemini. I'm not going to give that up. Like, I'm not. It's helped my health. And there are other people who have said this as well, who have chronic illnesses of different kinds, that it has actually helped them. And not only that, there's like different research being done for these diseases that have been on this planet for, I would probably say thousands of years at least, but maybe millennia. And this kind of research and what it could do for the medical community is incredible. Like, I really think it's incredible and it could be really game changing. And that's why, like, the things I want to
Mhm.
support are ethical because if we're using AI ethically, I think that changes things. I think the way that it's being done right now, it's like a very different, ball game. Also, these are just my views. These have nothing to do with Rob, and these have nothing to do with anybody else. These are just my opinions. Um, so I just wanted to point that out that like a lot of medical use of AI has been beneficial for you, just the average user, not just me. And it can be really powerful for people and to consider that piece of things and to consider the quality of life and the level of suffering that somebody is going through if they have a condition.
I think something I want to talk about briefly is when you were showing us that info, it said, hey, for a 100-word query, it's going to be about half a liter of water. Okay. And that doesn't seem like that much, right? So AI doesn't work on words, it works on tokens. Spaces are tokens, and tokens are something like TH or ABC. And it really does depend on how it's been trained. So, but it will split words into specific tokens. So that's why it's not even looking at words on a letter basis. It's actually looking at them on a token basis. So it really, its understanding of language is even different from ours. So a 100-word query is more or less about 300 tokens. I don't know how accurate that 100-word thing is, but I could say, okay, if 300 tokens is half a liter of water, let's just say. So at work, I use something called Claude Code. And I use Claude Code pretty extensively because we're required to use it at work to do our code. I don't really mind at this point. It's actually pretty powerful. But I can tell you, because this is something I keep track of, that I use roughly about 80,000 tokens a day just in Claude Code. That doesn't count all the research I'm doing in OpenAI, the stuff that even my tests are running because I work at an AI company. Whenever I write code and I test code, that's also hitting an LLM. But that 80,000 tokens is 35 gallons of water at that exchange rate every workday.
Which is one shower.
Basically, yeah. And I also don't shower every day. So maybe I'm making up for that.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, and that's so interesting that
But
you're sharing that. Thank you.
every person at my company, every developer at my company is also required to do the same thing. So that means that they're using 400,000 tokens, which means they're using something like 175 gallons of water a day, right? So like Fi's saying, it adds up. And you get to that burger, right? Yeah, a burger takes more, but have you raised a cow? You don't get like you're saying, you don't get a burger immediately. That water goes into that cow over a long time. And more importantly, most of that water doesn't stay in the cow. The cow is not, so many gallons of water by the end of its life. It defecates and urinates all of that back out. Where does it go? Right back into nature. It goes right back into the groundwater, which is kind of disgusting, but I promise you they filter it before it gets back to your tap. So like, but the thing about the AI stuff is when that water goes, it evaporates. And granted, some of the cow stuff does too, but AI's cooling is designed to evaporate. That's the whole point. That's how it cools, is it evaporates. And so I really don't think there's a good comparison you can make. And honestly, I think people, and this is going to be a little controversial, I think people on both sides are being disingenuous about it. The people that are the AI shills who are like, oh, it's not something to worry about, blah blah blah. This is the equivalent of each data center uses the equivalent of like a town of 3,000 people. Yeah, that's reasonable, but then they're in a town of 3,000 people, and then there's 40 of them. So now that town, which has a water system designed to supply maybe 6,000 people, is having to supply 70,000. And it's just not designed for that, right? The groundwater is not designed for that. If AI was as dispersed as people, or if it built up slowly like cities do, I don't think we'd have a problem. It's again the time scale, right? Think about Burning Man. All these people gather and then they all leave. Imagine if they didn't leave. Imagine if they just stayed there for 5 years. It'd be a disaster and they probably all die of dysentery. AI is built, people are building AI data centers in like 6 months and hooking them up to the water grid. And then 3 more coming up, and like the speed is just so quick. And that's tech. Tech moves fast. We have a lot of money that we can throw into this stuff. And people don't really know, I think, what's going on. And so they get this stuff, like even San Jose, for instance. San Jose has water problems. Okay. San Jose also has 1 million people, but San Jose did not start with 1 million people. San Jose started with like 10,000 people over 150 years ago, and it slowly built up to that point where, and they improved the water system. They got more from the Colorado River. They got more from the Sacramento. They got all these things, excuse me, all these things coming in. And it took hundreds of years for that to happen. That gave them time to figure out, wow, we're getting kind of close to running out of water. Like even now they're thinking, how do we reduce water? How do we get more sources in? Maybe we do some desal plants, right? But imagine if another 1 million people moved into San Jose in the next year. The water situation would just collapse. There's no way that city can support 2 million people, the water it has. And AI just moves quickly. And so it's just stretching everything that wasn't designed to move that fast. Social, resource based. But then the people on the other side who are saying AI is going to ruin everything, it's not. It's a tool. It's just like call centers, which freed up people to have to upskill and work better jobs to make more money. AI is doing that too. It's just doing it too quickly for people to react to. It's not a bad thing by itself. It's just not being used in a very good way sometimes.
Awesome. And then the last thing I think we'll have time for today is something I discovered. Canva actually has courses. Rob, is this
Yep,
properly
you're good.
whatever? Great. Which area are we seeing the orange?
Create scroll stopping content.
Okay, great. So this is one of the courses. Actually, let me go back. So yeah, and these are the certified ones I'd selected, but they also have different ones where it's just a course and it's not with a shareable certificate from Canva itself. So this is cool stuff that you can kind of look into if you have Canva. Some of these are pro, like this one, Work Smarter with AI. You have to have Canva Pro to have access to this one. But you can go through here and they teach you different things. So Canva Essentials for mobile could be interesting. One of the ones, Social Media Mastery was down there. I want to look at the certified ones, and there was another here. Create scroll stopping content. So they have how to do Instagram stories, your hook writing prompt library. It's a cheat sheet. Design trends on TikTok. It'll help you look at every different platform. Making carousel posts, easily editing with AI, how to do that. remixing content, planning your content with sheets, visual tips for videos, and then yeah, you finish it and they do a 20 question test and then you earn a certificate. So this could be really cool if you're like trying to get into design and you don't really know how to design things or how to make it look good, but you want your branding and your work to look really good. This is one way to kind of do that in like a very certified legitimate way, so you know that it is something that you can kind of trust essentially. And then yeah, different elements of design. They also have principles of design in here, how to use color theory, which is like a very, big topic is color theory. So that is something that you can also look into. And yeah, I just wanted to share this in here. And these were just the certified ones. You can also search by audience. So for example, I remember seeing that they had, yeah, so Canva code, right. I remember looking at this to create custom interactive classroom tools, no coding skills needed. So for teachers who want to like make custom things for their students, that also
Hmm.
exists. And then yeah, just a lot of teacher essential things like if you're making slideshows and that kind of stuff, or if you're making tests and those kinds of things, it could be helpful. And there was another one that I wanted to go through. Where was it? I think it was this one. Oh yeah, creating a logo is in here because you can get pretty far with Canva logos. Um, so yeah, and then this one looked interesting to me and I saw it was new in Canva. This is again a pro one. But when you have different campaigns that are email campaigns or social media campaigns, if you have text campaigns too, this is another thing to try to look into. If you're into DIYing it, this can be one of the ways that you can kind of upskill what you're doing. Without having to hire somebody out. So, oh, and yeah, look, there's 2,500 people who've already looked into this. So yeah, so these are Canva courses. Um, and I think what I didn't look, oh yeah, design school. Yeah, so that's where like everything is kind of located. I forgot where I went into to get this. I don't, oh
Screwed
yeah,
up the
design
view
school. So
for
it's
a
under
second.
more. Oh, what?
I screwed up the view for a second, but it's back now.
Okay, so yeah, to go see the Canva courses, you click on the three dots and then you go into design school. They also have the content planner. I've not used this. I've really been wanting to try to use it, but I just haven't done that yet. But there are different things that you can create in here, and they have their own AI things, and you can get it across different channels, like including Instagram, or LinkedIn. Where was the? Yeah, I haven't been in here a lot, but they do have a content planner in here, which is helpful if you are trying to, work for yourself and like put those things together. It can be really helpful. Oh, they have ads. Build your brand and identity, create campaign assets, and launch them to any channel. So I haven't actually looked into this, but apparently they have real estate marketing. Oh. So it looks like these are different apps that they have in here that you can. This is made through Close Inc. Okay, everyone is AI. Okay. Here's another CRM situation. So anyway, there's a lot in here that you can look at. I've only looked at just a little bit of it, but if you're interested in exploring this, or if you'd like more information about this, or if you want someone around while you're looking at it who can answer questions and stuff, let me know. I'm happy to do that. And yeah, just like have conversations with people. I wonder what this one is about. Communications. Oh, okay, e-cards. This one, like I really, when I'm editing for the podcast, as Rob knows, it's just so challenging to get it all, working at the same time in like an efficient manner. I feel like that's where I struggle the most. And there was a really interesting question today. Oh, they have a voice AI. That's interesting. I read a question that said, if somebody watched your team for the last 3 months and had like watched what every member on your team was doing for the last 3 months and they were screaming at you, like what you're doing wrong, what would they say? And what would like an audience say essentially to like where your workflow is wrong? And I immediately realized that one of the things for us in Happy Tech itself is just like the decisions being put, I'll just stop sharing. The decisions being put on autopilot, like that's something that we're working on right now is like automations. I think that's like the biggest thing that we're running into as a small business that's just two people, two and a half, some, yeah, half-ish people kind of putting everything together. It's really been interesting to see like what behavioral pieces in my life show up in the business, as well. And like, how do we escape that and go into like deeper automations of things and like making it more efficient, essentially. And other people run into this too. Solopreneurs, a lot of the times are running into efficiency, a lot of friction between decisions and delegating different things, right? And making sure that it's like all moving smoothly and as fast as possible because the bigger players, they have that advantage of being able to mobilize really quickly. And then for people like us who are smaller and more mom and pop shop type of people, it is a little bit more challenging. So if that's something you're running into with your work as well, please reach out. Like this is something Rob and I are working through about how to scale our business, and how to, yeah, just build on what we've done already, all the feedback we've gotten, all the clients we've worked with, streamline it and become more of a robust company. And that's really important to both of us. Like this, we both really love doing this and like building what we've built so far. So yeah, if that's something you're running into, please let us know. We're happy to talk about it, just, together and see where you're at and share what we've done and then even learn from you if you have figured out things or if you have suggestions for us, please let us know. Rob, do you have any thoughts on the Canva thing or anything else you want to add?
I think it's a little tangential. I think that's really cool. Like I might actually look at some of those myself because I know to use Canva on a very basic level and would like to know more. A lot of places, a lot of what I'm hearing from people is how do I use AI? Like they know it's important. And not necessarily like there's people like how do I actually just make use of AI, but more like how do I integrate into my business? How do I take advantage of this thing because everyone's doing it? And I think it's my knee jerk response is not every business needs AI, but I think that's actually wrong because AI can help with every business. It's just you have to apply it correctly. And what a lot of people think is you put a chat box on your homepage that lets people ask questions and you've AI'd. And that could be helpful. But what AI is really good at is it's really good at taking large volumes of information and gleaning insights out of it. That's really what it's designed to do, in a way. And so, what does that mean? That means taking complicated product manuals and making them simpler. Generating a series of steps for someone who is in an odd situation with a product. If you have a lot of information that you have provided to people who use your business, you can use AI to help them search that information or to provide summaries for them without having to do a lot of work yourself. So it really does depend on just what you're doing. And a lot of what I see is people who are, for example, knowledge workers, coaches, that sort of thing. They take their whole catalog, throw it into an LLM, and let people use that. That's great. People can ask a lot of their questions that maybe they don't feel comfortable asking the actual coach or they don't want to pay for a session or stuff like that, but they're still paying like $10 a month for access to this thing. They will use that. That's great. If you're running something that you are more like a retailer, like you sell products or you design products or you build stuff for people, AI can be really helpful because you can have it do your intakes. Someone comes to you with a project, you can have the AI and be like, these are the things I need to know from someone before. And you can actually just tell the AI this, find out these topics from someone and give me a summary of what they said before I meet with them. And then voila, they just have like a 15-minute conversation with this AI and it will get to the heart of everything. And then you just clarify with them. This is what came out from your conversation. Some people don't like that, right? They're like, I don't want to talk to a machine. I want to talk to a human. That's fine. Make them pay extra for it, right? Your time's valuable. That's the whole point of what AI can do. Use it to take tasks off of yourself that can be done with AI, can be automated. And what could be automated back in the day used to be repetitive processes. Now those repetitive processes can just be a little bit more variable, right? Like an AI can ask someone, you're saying you want these cookies. Can you describe to me what kind of images you want? And they say, yeah, I want it looking like this, but see the reindeer on this and here. And at that point, you could even go to the AI and say, okay, take all the images the customer gave in their description and give me a template of what this should probably look like. You take that template, you go make some cookies, right? In my job, for instance, I use AI to name things because naming things is hard. Like, hey, I don't know what to call this thing. It says, hey, here's what you should call it. I'm building a small video game. I use it for game design. So, okay, this is my thought. This is how I want the game loop to be. Can you design me a point system that makes sense? And it said, yeah, don't use a linear scale, use an exponential scale. Here's the algorithm for it. Great. I'll put that in. Could I figure that out on my own? Yeah, probably. But it saved me like 30 minutes of trying to figure it out myself. I'm not using AI to make the game. I'm using it to design it. That's kind of how you want to start integrating this into your flow. Use it for the pieces that you don't want to do anyway, right? Use it for the things that you're just saying, gosh, I really wish that there was some way I just couldn't avoid doing this specific thing every time this happens. Get an AI to do it. It might be a little hard to figure out the prompt, but you can always come to us. We're pretty good at this stuff. Prompt engineering is something that we can do. Teach, which is basically how do I tell the AI to do what I want. It's not that different from programming, actually. It's just a little bit easier to read.
Awesome. And then, yeah, I just want to bring up someone I found on Substack who is pretty cool. So you might want to look into her and the work that she does. Her name is Jenny Yang, I guess. Rob, do you know how to say that?
I would say Yang.
Yang, Jenny Yang. Yeah, so she puts really interesting stuff out about prompts. So here's
Mm.
one of them. Here's the 60% of my prompts end with this. Here's the format I want. Paste exactly how the output should start. The AI fills in the rest. Most people describe what they want. I show the first line of what good looks like. The difference is
Mm-hmm.
massive. I stopped getting mediocre AI outputs when I learned this. Never accept the first answer. Instead, ask for the safe version, the creative version, and the version I'm not expecting. Then pick the one that scares me a little. That's usually the right one. Um, and yeah, this is also a really good point about like not needing to know every single thing. We notice this a lot with our clients that they are constantly shopping for tools and thinking like, oh, that tool's going to be better. That tool's going to be better. Master one, two or three. Okay, like master two or three tools before you do anything else. Because, and I think Rob was talking about this last time too. Um, Actually, yeah, do you want to share about that, Rob? Like how you were saying that when you kind of learn one platform or software, you can use that with the other ones because they're
Yeah.
all built upon similar things and like the benefit. So there's a big benefit in learning one or two AI tools deeply. Like go really, really deep on those and master them before you go into another one. And you'll be able to like kind of put it all together and pick it up even quicker once you've gone deep on those. I think Rob was sharing about this before. Do you have anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I think it's just if you've learned how to prompt one LLM, it'll probably work in other LLMs. They're not that different. They are different, like they all have their differences, but they're not that different. At their core, they're still running on the same basic principle, which means the same stuff will work. It's like if you knew Adobe, you can probably pick up Canva. A lot of the systems are the same. Or if you pick up some other system like Figma, right? Figma is also based on a lot of that stuff, the same tooling. Um, and so, yeah, if you get to know a tool really well and it's considered industry standard, then it's very likely if you switch to another tool in the same category, it's going to copy the same stuff because what works works. And it's really rare at this point for software to do something dramatically different. Like even Figma was groundbreaking for what it could accomplish, but they didn't really do anything different. They just did it more accessibly, and it was all in a web browser. That was the part that people thought was amazing. It wasn't that, oh my gosh, I can drag shapes around the screen. No, we've been able to do that forever, right? It's just that Figma did it so much better, and they added in the here's all the styles for your developer. That wasn't new, right? So even that was familiar to a lot of people. And even that actually honestly kind of built on a new vision as well. But none of these things is doing something new. And if they do something new, everyone's going to start doing it because it works. So you don't have to worry about being left behind, because if some other project comes up with some new way of doing something that becomes groundbreaking, everyone else is going to copy them and you're going to figure it out anyway, because whatever software you're using is going to pick it up. Yeah.
Yeah, so the moral there is pick one thing, one AI tool, Descript, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever you want to pick, master it really well, and then try to go to the next thing. Don't try to do multiple things at once. And I'm, kind of taking my own advice here. I do try to learn a few different things at once, but I do have pretty good mastery on a couple of things. And so it helps me extrapolate for the other and generalize for the other tools that I want to use. And it's okay to stay committed to the tools that you have without needing to constantly jump. There are so many clients that we meet with, and they're like, I like most of what this is doing, but I was told that I should be using Bernard AI. I don't even know if that's an AI.
It is
I'm
now.
using like
Someone just invented it.
yeah, like I'm using Hamburger AI. Or let me start that over. We meet so many clients who come to us and say, this is my dog, Unicorn. And this is another dog that people say I should have, and it's a cow. But I mostly understand and love Unicorn, but they told me that cow is going to be better. Should I switch over to cow? And most of the time we tell them no. And mind you, dog and unicorn and cow and all of those things are different AI softwares or different just regular software. Okay. Most of the time, what you've learned, if it's working for you, I'd say if it's working for you like 90% of the way and you're not getting angry with it, stick with it. If there is something out there that's making you angry and you're literally losing emotional energy over it, then come to us and be like, hey, this isn't working, right? There's a scale of working to not working. If you have a tool that you don't even realize you're using, that's working great. We've had clients come to us and they were like, they gave us an inventory of all of their tools that they're using, digital tools that they're using. Nobody mentioned Zoom in those. Okay.
Yeah.
And they pay for it. Okay, but it was not listed. Why? Because Zoom is working. There's nothing that needs to be changed. They don't need to jump ship to Google Meet or whatever the heck else is out there, WebEx. But then there were other tools that they would come with, and they were frustrated. And I could tell that it was causing much more drag and friction than it was worth. Get rid of those. But if you come in with a tool and you're like, hey, does this do this? Can I do this in here? Like, I feel like I should be able to. Yeah, ask us. Like, we'll let you know. Yeah, you can do it in here. We'll send you a video tutorial of like, here's how you do it. And then you can do it and you can keep the tools that you have. You don't need to constantly get the newest, latest, greatest thing. And in fact, sometimes it's good not to until they've worked out all the kinks. There are some products, like I signed up for a social media platform or social media scheduler that was like very new. And I was like, oh my God, it's gonna be great. It's so cheap. They're giving me so much all at once. Like they're really competing. I don't want to support all the big players. Like, let me go with this. Bad idea. Bad idea. They were working out a lot of different kinks, and I was frustrated. I used it for almost a year and a half, and I was frustrated every time I would go in there. I was like, ugh, like I literally would groan going in there, and I didn't like using it. And I finally just cut it and I'm done with it, right? If you have something like that that is so memorable for you that you're thinking about how much you hate it every day, switch out of it. Okay, for sure, switch out of it. But if something is mostly working and there's another alternative, you're gonna have to learn it all over again. Just ask somebody, consult, get some help on like, hey, can I do what I'm trying to do in here? There may be a way to make it work and hold on to something that's working 90% of the way, right? You've already learned it. You're fast at it. Speed is a huge thing. Optimization and efficiency are really, really important, especially if you're a solopreneur or if you're a small business owner who's like got like a team of like 1 to 5 people. Knowing your tools and feeling comfortable with them so you can train other people is really important. And it's not important to constantly be seeking new software that you're trying to integrate and learn. Okay, I know we're way over time. Rob, did you want to add anything else? And sorry, I repeated myself multiple times. Do you want to add anything before we end for the night?
Coming up right on about an hour. Um, no, I think that's pretty good. It was good having y'all here. Have a good one, folks.